Hey guys, this is Simon from Frozen Card Gaming. I am back with another Infernoble combo video, serving as a follow-up to our first video, which showcased kind of some very optimized basic combos. This is going to be a little more experimental of a video. The combos are, I would say, a little less practical than the ones in the first video, but they highlight, I think, a lot of the potential the deck has to evolve, and it shows how you can use a lot of strange cards in pretty creative ways to do a lot of interesting things. So just keep that in mind that not all of these combos are going to be super practical, but I think they're very interesting and I'm excited to share them. Before I start, shoutouts to a couple YouTuber channels that have been going crazy this past week, posting Infernoble content. I highly recommend you check them out if you have the time. Those are Pax channel, Shenping's channel, and Aether Gaming, all of which have uploaded multiple videos this past week, and links to them will be in the description, along with other resources like the Roadoftheking, Infernoble combo guides that could be useful resources to you guys. So starting off, we're going to cover a couple combos that show what you do when you open garnets. And so the main garnets in this deck, besides the equips, are Genba, Jet, and Olion. And Genba and Jet are pretty easy to work around. So for Genba, when you open it, what you'll simply do is you'll mill 1 with the Soul, and you'll summon Fireflint Lady. So Fireflint has this nice effect where you can set it from the field to the grave, and then you special summon a level 4 or lower warrior monster from your hand. So you'll just summon Fireflint, and then Flint will get Genba, and it's pretty much the same as if you would summon Genba. So we're going to proceed normally from here, going to Linkross, then Marcher, still making Herald early, and then we're going to go into Fiber. And Jet is very easily solved. You just summon Jet from hand with Halka 5X, and after this, you're just going to continue comboing in the same ways as in the first video. So these are very easy workarounds. But as we're going to see very shortly, Olion is a little more troublesome. Next, we're going to go over what happens when you open Olion, which is pretty much the only hard garnet in the deck. We've already shown that it's pretty easy to combo when you draw Jet Synchron or Genba, as you can typically just special summon those from the hand. But Olion can be a little more awkward to incorporate into your combos when you end up drawing it. So one way of doing this, which you should already be familiar with if you've been watching Pack or Shenping's channels, is that you can just do the quote-unquote old standard Roadoftheking combo, where you summon Oliver off of Isolde, and you combo off that way, since that combo will typically summon Olion off Fibrax anyway instead of Jet, so it doesn't matter that you drew it. So for the sake of demonstration, let's just go ahead and show that. You mill 4 equips here off of Isolde to summon Oliver. You can also mill just Durendal to summon Renaud, and then add back the Durendal to summon Oliver instead. This is all kind of more or less established at this point, and so I'm not going to go too in depth into it. Go Linkross, Roland, Fiber, and then just summon the O-line from hand. And then go into Marcher, summoning back Roland, and then Auroradon. So one thing you want to note is that this combo takes up all 6 monster zones, which means that you can't do this combo with Gear Freed up, which is already kind of a drawback. There is a version where you still do a similar combo while Gear Freed protects everything, but to my knowledge, it requires you to summon Jet off of Auroradon, and Jet off of Fibrax, and then Olion off of Auroradon, so it doesn't work when you draw Olion. And the second thing is that the first negate you establish is now, so not earlier. And that means that you're kind of comboing unprotected the whole time. And if they do happen to drop a Nibiru here, it means you're in trouble, as you've burned through a lot of resources, and you've already used your Fibrax and your Auroradon this turn. So even if you had like a tuner or something to follow up, you don't really have any more gas left in the tank. So I do think that this combo is important to know, because it comes up a lot. For example, if they negate your Isolde and you have an Oliver, you can just go into this combo. I think it's important to just have in your repertoire, but it is a little risky, and I'm going to show some kind of alternative routes that I think are a little more promising. So this is going to be an alternate route that you can do that is very similar to the combos that I showed in the first video, where you mill 2 equips to summon Genba and you threaten a Herald early, and it still ends on the same board as usual. So we're going to show that now. Just go 2 warriors into Isolde, add anything, mill 2 equip, summon Genba, go into Linkross, and then go into your Marcher reviving Genba. So if you watch the first video, you'll know that typically you want to go Marcher plus a token here into Herald of the Arclight, and that will protect your Fiber from anything, and it'll protect you from the Nibiru early. What that also means is that the opponent, if they know what you're doing, they will have to Nibiru here, or else you'll simply make a Herald and they won't be able to stop you anymore. So this has two benefits. The first is that if they drop Nibiru here, they can't hold it till the end of the combo. They'll typically feel like they're forced to drop it here, which means that if you have a tuner extender in your hand, like an Oliver or whatnot, you can simply summon the tuner extender and then go into Fibrax and combo off that way. The second thing is that if you get to this point and they don't Nibiru you, you can be somewhat confident that they don't have it, and that means that you can do plays that kind of would lose to it otherwise. So this is a little risky, but you're more or less reading that they don't have a Nibiru if they haven't used it by this point. So in this combo where we open O-Lion, we need a level 2 tuner somehow. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually not make Herald, and we're going to use the Marcher and the Linkross to go into Fibrax. We're going to get a Jet and then go into a Rorodon, summoning 3. And so we're going to skip O-Lion entirely. We're actually going to go Genba and token into Roland, add back our Phoenix Blade as free discard fodder for Jet, and then Jet and the other level 3 token are going to go into a Herald here. And finally, the level 5 Roland plus level 3 Rorodon token plus level 1 Linkross token are going to go into Charles. So this sets up the same Herald Charles board, but in a slightly different way. And I've already gone over kind of the advantages of ending on Herald instead of Savage. And the advantages of this route are that you're a little freer from having to fear Nibiru, because if they do drop it, they have to drop it before you make Fiber. And that allows you a little more freedom in terms of your potential follow-up. And it means you're less likely to kind of have the Nibiru dropped on you when you've already kind of, made your Savage and kind of dumped all your resources into your play. And kind of finally, as a last follow-up for these O-Lion drawn combos, is what happens if you open a tuner extender in addition to your Isolde, if you do draw an O-Lion. And so this actually allows you to just do the regular combo while still making a Herald early. So we're just going to go through kind of the same stuff as before. Marcher, Genba, and this time we actually are going to make the Herald. So this is still early protection, which is very nice. And if you have a Renaud here, or an Oliver, or even an E-Telly, basically anything that's a tuner that summons itself at this point, you just summon it, and then you keep the Genba on field. So the kind of key to these combos is that your Genba is now your level 2 tuner that you use instead of the O-Lion, and you just don't summon the O-Lion at all. So go into a Rorodon, and then Roland, Omega, summon back the Jet, and then go into Charles. If you opened Renaud instead of Oliver, you could add back, for example, a living fossil that you milled, and then you could continue here. You could probably set up double Herald, or you could set up Herald plus Savage. In any case, this is another route you can do when you open O-Lion that still establishes this Omni Negate very early, which I prefer to kind of doing the original blind combo and taking a lot more risks in my opinion. The rest of the combos in this video are going to be slightly more unorthodox combos that try to get as much value as possible out of its Link monsters, usually at the cost of having to play additional garnets or making yourself more vulnerable to disruption compared to the standard combos shown in the first video. So the first is going to be ways to get an extra negate out of Justice Hold. Usually you have to choose between either Savage or Herald plus your Charles, but there's a couple ways to get both, so this is one of them. You're going to summon 2 warriors into Isolde, and you're going to add a level 6 warrior with their first effect. There's a couple options to add. One is a Destiny Hero Malicious, and another is any Ignite monster, which can be good if you play the Ignite cards. Also, if you're subscribed to Aether Gaming's channel, he put out a video this week on using Laval Lancelord in this combo, which is another option. But the one that I'm familiar with is the Fiend Megacyber. So shout out to Lucio for this one. If you watched the LCS5 stream, you may have seen him reveal this card against Lundredy. Basically, Fiend Megacyber is a 2200 warrior that sometimes can special summon itself, which gives it a few benefits. One is that it can crash with Winda, funnily enough. And another is that rarely it's an extender going second. And going first, if you get Gammed on the Isolde search and you open Megacyber, you can actually summon the Megacyber after they Gammet you. So these are very rare uses, but they give Megacyber a slight edge over the other level 6 warriors. So that's why we played it. So we're going to go into Linkross, and then Marcher, and then Tatsunoko. So this combo does require Tatsunoko because you need to synchro with the monster that you add. It's what gives you the extra bodies to be able to establish 2 negates in addition to your Charles. So we're going to do that at the end. We're going to go into the standard Auroradon stuff off of Fibrax, O-Lion into Roland, blah, blah, blah. Go into Savage here instead of Omega because your Tatsunoko is going to make the Charles. Equip Auroradon. And here I summon Herald a little too early. I should have actually waited to make Charles first, but I make Herald first instead. It doesn't matter too much. It just means that the Megacyber gets banished instead of going to the graveyard. And there you go. So you have now your 2 negates in addition to your Charles plus Handloop off of just Isolde. And the drawback here is you have to play a level 6 or your Garnet. And the combo is a little riskier. You're not making the early Herald or an early Savage either. But this is just one way of doing this. The next 2 combos are going to show ways that you can use Vylon Sphere instead of Jet Synchron to get a couple extra bodies in your board and improve the overall strength of your end board. So let's just get started. It's going to look exactly the same up until we resolve Fibrax. We still want to make a negate early to protect our combo. So I'm going to go Herald. Note that Tatsunoko here is more or less interchangeable with this Herald, so if you prefer Savage instead, you could easily go for that route. I've just already covered in the first video why I tend to go for Herald early, but it doesn't really matter which one you choose. We're going to go Fibrax, summoning Sphere, and so what Sphere does, more or less, is when you link it off, it'll equip itself to something, and then it'll swap itself with an equip in your graveyard. So we're going to use that to equip Durendal to one of our monsters and get a free search. We're going to summon Auroradon, use both the effects of Auroradon and Sphere, equipping Sphere. We're going to swap Sphere with Durendal, and then we're going to use Durendal to get Renaud. Then we're going to summon O-Lion, summon Roland, use the effects of both Roland and O-Lion, and use Renaud to get back the equip that we milled with Isolde. So we're going to add back a Living Fossil. So in this combo, it's important to mill both Durendal plus the equip that you want to add back later. And now we're just going to build the rest of our board. So Renaud plus a token is the second Herald, and then Roland token into Omega. We're going to fossil back the Sphere and make Charles. Note that I forget to pay 500 life points in this combo with Sphere because I'm not super familiar with the card, but in a real duel, don't forget that you do need to pay 500 life points to use its effect. And this is going to end on 2 negates plus the hand loop. So this is a very simple way of improving your end board off of just Isolde, and the difference is that we play Sphere instead of Jet. So I don't want to go ahead and say that Sphere is better than Jet or anything, because the drawbacks of this combo are that you need both Durendal and Renaud to do this combo, and if you don't have, if you've already used either one of them, then going this exact route becomes impossible, and it can cause some problems for you if you need Jet Synchron and you ended up cutting it for Sphere. But this is just one example of the ways you can use Vylon Sphere to improve the overall strength of your combo. This next combo is going to show how you can double hand loop off of just Isolde using Vylon Sphere. It's also going to utilize a kind of interesting main deck tech card, which we're going to show closer to the end. But the start of this combo is exactly the same, so we're just going to go through this fast forward. We're going to mill Smoke instead of Living Fossil here because since we're double hand looping, we want to add back the Smoke Grenade so we can manually pop it early on. This is all pretty standard. We're not going to tribute a Auroradon here. We're going to tribute 2 tokens because we don't need the extra body. We're going to go into Roland, add back Smoke, then Omega, and then Charles. And now we're going to manually equip the Smoke to the Charles. This will trigger Charles, and we can pop Smoke with the first hand loop. Then during the end phase, we're going to add mini-Roland. So mini-Roland, or the main deck Infernoble Knight Roland, has 2 effects. We are mainly concerned about the first one, which is a quick effect that lets it equip to a monster that we control. This is important because during the end phase, we're going to equip Smoke back onto Charles, and then during their draw phase, we're going to use Roland's effect to equip to Charles, and this will trigger Charles to pop Smoke, and this lets us hand loop them after seeing their 6th card. So there's a couple benefits to this. The most obvious one is that if their 6th card is a board breaker, like Dark Ruler No More or even a Kaiju, we can snipe it in the draw phase before they ever have a chance to use it. So you can't do this with Synchro Roland because Synchro Roland can only be used during the main phase. And that means that they have priority to use a card like Dark Ruler or to Kaiju us when they enter their main phase. So mini-Roland plays around all of this. Kind of a drawback of this approach is that it means that you use up your Charles Pop pretty early. So now you can't really protect your Herald, and you can't use Charles Pop to stop them from actually playing the game. But typically the double hand loop in addition to the negate is enough to get you there. So this is just kind of a food for thought combo. It does use Vylon Sphere to easily get the smoke grenade to hand, but you can do this combo with Jet Synchron and without Vylon Sphere if you just open Renaud or if you open Smoke Grenade. And it's more or less the same. And the mini-Roland lets you just do it during their draw phase. So this plays around a couple cards, and you'll have to kind of decide for yourself whether it's worth it to play this combo or to play mini-Roland in particular. But yeah. This next combo is one of the crazier ones in this video. I would say also one of the less practical, but a lot of these combos are more about kind of demonstrating what you can do with these cards in ways that you may not have thought of before. So credit for this one goes to the user Raven on Dueling Book, or at least that's where I learned about this combo. And let's get into it. We're going to go, this is going to be off of Isolde plus Renaud. And off the Assault ad, we're going to add Noble Knight Eachtar. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And you play Eachtar because he is level 5 warrior, and you search him instead of red layer because he is dark, and that will come up shortly. We're going to go into the kind of standard line, but we're going to make Tatsunoko this time because we need to get Eachtar in the graveyard somehow. So we also happen to be able to make Savage this way, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Synchro for Savage, get Eachtar in the grave, go Fiber, Auroradon. Tribute 2, go into O-line, Roland. We milled Durendal with the Soul. We're going to add it back now. You could probably also mill Fossil, but this route just happens to demonstrate that. It's doable with Oliver, it doesn't really matter. We're going to synchro Roland plus a level 3 token into Chaos Roller, and this is a new synchro from Rise of the Duelist. Basically, during the regular combo, you oftentimes burn a level 8 synchro while climbing the Charles, and so you want one that does something. And so what this card does is you can excavate 5, and you can add an excavated light or dark, and the rest go to grave. So you don't play that many lights. One is Neospace Connector, and others are potential hand traps like Nibiru, Ghost Ogre, and Effect Veiler. So if you play those, this card could add one of those, and it's just a nice plus. And the rest go to grave. And another benefit of making Savage early instead of Herald is that those monsters that you send to grave with Chaos Ruler will not get banished, which is just kind of like a minor benefit. But overall, you play this because it gives you a free card while you climb in the Charles. So we're going to do that now. Go 8+1 to Charles, which is 9. We'll summon back Jet. And now we're going to use Chaos Ruler's other effect, which is that you can banish a light or a dark to summon it. So this deck doesn't summon that many darks, which is why we need to search out Eachtar. We're going to banish Eachtar and a Link Cross to summon back Chaos Ruler. Now we have a level 8 and a level 1 tuner, and we're going to actually synchro for Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. And then finally we can equip back the Roland, summon Oliver, and make Herald. So this gives us 3 negates plus the Charles Pop plus the Smoke Grenade off of Isolde and Renaud. In the end phase, equip Ogier, I accidentally banished face down, doesn't matter too much, and then equip Smoke and Hand Loop. So again, this is not really meant to be a super practical combo, but I think it's definitely an interesting showcase of ways you can kind of meaningfully convert the advantage that Chaos Ruler gives you. I think it'd be a lot more interesting if we had a chainable spell trap, because then you could play around cards like Dark Ruler, because if they Dark Ruler, you just chain your spell trap, and then as Chainlink 3, you can chain your Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss to target and negate the Dark Ruler. So that's just kind of a cool way you can play around Dark Ruler, but currently we don't really have that searchable, chainable spell trap to play. So this combo is definitely more proof of concept, but it's interesting and it's quite fun, and you can play cards like Eachtar that you don't really get to see otherwise. To wrap up this video, I'm going to show off 2 combos involving TG Hyper Librarian that draw a bunch of cards. The first one is going to be a safer route that makes Herald early, and the second one is going to draw 7 cards. So let's just jump into it. This is going to be off of Isolde plus Renaud. We're still milling 2 to summon Genba. We're going to mill Fossil here. If you watched the first video, this is the safe route that I showed that plays around Nibiru all the time, because you can Renaud to add back Fossil, and then use that to extend post Nibiru. But assuming no Nibiru, we're going to go ahead and make Herald early, summon Renaud, add back the Fossil. And now we need several level 2 tuners, because we want to make both Librarian, and then at some point we want to make Roland. And so we're going to keep Genba on the field, and we're going to use Renaud as the tuner for Fibrax instead. So I'm going to go Fibrax, Jet, Aurodon, summon 3, Tribute, summon Olion, and now we're going to go into Hyper Librarian using Genba and one of the Aurodon tokens. Using the other one and Olion, we're going to summon Roland. We're going to draw 1. Use both of these effects of Roland and Olion. Going to go into Omega, draw 2. We're going to add back Phoenix Blade, pitch it for Jet, make Charles, and draw 3. After that, we still have Fossil, so we're going to Fossil back the Martial Metal Marcher, and then the level 3 Marcher plus the level 5 Librarian are going to make Savage, which will equip Rodon and get 3 counters. And then the end phase will do the hand loop as normal. So this is a version that incorporates Librarian that gets us 3 draws for free, in addition to the standard board, and puts out 2 negates. This is going to be the final combo of the video. It's going to show how you can draw 7 cards using TG Hyper Librarian. I first found out about this combo a couple weeks ago through a Discord user named Recliate, so shoutouts to them. Since then, actually this week, Aether Gaming uploaded this very similar combo to his channel, so shoutouts to him as well for covering this before I could. And it's going to be just off of Isolde and a Renaud, and so assuming that you have a 1-card Isolde starter, you're going to have 3 other cards in hand. So just keep that in mind as we go along. Going to go into Isolde, add anything. Doing kind of the standard combo route, but we're not going to make Marcher into Herald early. We're just going to leave the Link Rush tokens on the field, and we're going to go into a Aurodon. So that makes this combo a little greedier than the previous one, but partially this is proof of concept to kind of show what you can do off of just a few cards, and sometimes you can do this safely if you've seen their hand with Aqua Dolphin or with Tactical Talents. So if you have been watching Shunping's videos, you're probably very familiar with this board where you have 5 tokens and an Aurodon, and you can do basically whatever you want from this point forward. So we're going to tribute a Aurodon and one of the level 3 tokens to summon an Olion. And then we're going to summon a Librarian in the extra monster zone. And it is very important that it goes here because you're going to summon an Olion token, and you need space to summon back your Judge Synchron. So the Librarian must be up here. Add back Phoenix Blade, summon Jet. And then using Jet and a Link Rush token, we're going to go into Formula Synchron. So this is going to be 2 draws, 1 from Formula, 1 from Librarian. Formula and the other Link Rush token are going to make Metal Marcher. And so Marcher will revive the Formula, and you will draw a 3rd card with Librarian. Formula and the Aurodon token are going to go into Roland. This is your 4th card drawn. So this means that out of the first 9 cards you see, you just need some way to get to Renaud. So you have a total of 10 ways in your deck to do that. You have 3 Renaud, 3 Durendal, 3 Heritage, and a Rhoda. So if you play 45 like I do, you have something like a 92% chance of seeing Renaud during this combo. So it's pretty likely it's going to happen. So at this point, we're going to Renaud, add back the Fossil, and then we're going to go Roland plus the last token into Omega. This is going to be the 5th card we draw, and then Renaud and the Omega will go into Charles. This is the 6th card we draw. At this point, we're going to Fossil back any level 1 non-tuner. If you drew Fireplant Lady, you would just special Fireplant here instead. But if you don't have Fireplant, you would just Fossil back your Renaud, because Renaud is only treated as a tuner when you special summon it with his own effect. And we're going to make Herald using the Renaud and the Marcher. So note that if you use Fireflint, you would just go into Herald directly, and then you would Fossil back the Marcher to make Savage with the Librarian. But we're going to assume you didn't draw that, and you're still going to end on Herald Charles plus the hand rip, and you've drawn 7 cards, which is pretty obscene. So that is going to be this combo. It is largely a proof of concept thing. A lot of videos, or a lot of combos in this video, are more or less proof of concept, but you can kind of adapt them to how you prefer. And it's a showcase of, I guess, how unexplored this deck is, that you can do basically a lot of different things that we haven't seen yet. So I hope you learned something. I hope you thought some of these combos were cool, and I hope you consider incorporating some of them into your gameplay. I may or may not be doing a deck profile follow-up. Leave a comment if you're interested in that. And like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks.